Welcome back to How to Tickle Yourself. I am your host, Duff McDonald, along with my co-host, Joey of Rockledge. We cannot believe our senses over here at How to Tickle Yourself today because we're about to interview a singer-songwriter who literally lights our souls on fire. His name is Andrew Combs. Andrew released an EP in 2010 and his first album, Worried Man, in 2012. It was an auspicious start. Since then, he has graced us with 4 more. All These Dreams in 2015, Canyons of My Mind in 2017, Ideal Man in 2019, and an album called Sundays in 2022. When we get in the car these days, Andrew's is pretty much the only music I will play. Save for William Tyler's Highway Anxiety, which always seems appropriate. The best part is it doesn't matter which album of Andrew's we put on because we love them all. Texas-born and Nashville-based, Andrew writes about love as beautifully as any songwriter I have ever heard. But he also writes about the nature of existence. He's got what you might call searching lyrics. It sounds as if he's trying to find something, the secret of it all. He also sings like an angel with a timeless voice. I think he sounds like the 1970s. And I mean that in a good way. But that just might be the fact that I'm also a child of the 70s. In any event, he's been on quite the artistic journey, from straightforward country folk to orchestral accompaniment to indie singer-songwriter to rock and roll impressionist to outright songwriting experimentalism with his latest album, Sundays, during which he entered the studio with a producer and musician friend every Sunday to record a song he'd written that week. He's also quite the painter. Check out his site, andrewcombsmusic.com, for a sample of that. But let me cut this short so we can talk to Andrew. Joey and I saw Andrew play with Caitlin Rose in New York not that long ago. The show was amazing. So amazing that Joey ambushed him outside afterward and asked him to join us here on How to Tickle Yourself. And here we are. We are not stalkers. We are not stalkers. We are simply super fans. Welcome to the show, Andrew. We are beyond thrilled to talk to you.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for such kind words.
Oh, we love you.
At the present moment, traveling town to town, the mystery of the motion, right here, right now, right here, right now, whoa, right here, right now.
All right, I got a question to start. Your albums, when we play them, and I tend to play them all the way through, have a coherence that is reminiscent to me of a different time, when before the splintering of everything. And I love listening to them all the way through. So my question for you is, what is your favorite all the way through album?
Of mine or in general?
In general.
Okay. Luckily enough, I have my record collection right next to me. That's tough. I listen to so many different kinds of music. This might sound off the wall, but Steely Dan's Can't Buy a Thrill, I think is my desert island record, because I love it from top to bottom. But I love Christopherson and Towns and some of those old folky country guys, and I think those records are pretty well put together. But also, like Fleetwood Mac, they did a good job of that. Freaking Radiohead. I don't know, like they're just It's hard to
You can't
to
do a
name
favorite.
one. Yeah.
You have to do like top five.
For years, mine was Blonde on Blonde, right?
Yeah.
To me, it was like a complete package. All right.
Mm.
On that note, I have a related question. Your albums have such distinct ethos to them. And I'm asking you this as out of complete ignorance, because I obviously have no idea about it. How hard is it to take the sound in your head and get it on a record? Because Dylan talked about Blonde on Blonde, and he famously said he was trying to get that thin, wild Mercury sound.
Yeah.
Right. And what's crazy is if you listen to it, you know exactly what he's talking about. He did it. Mm-hmm. How hard is that as an artist to get that from here into the ears that we're listening to?
It's extremely hard. I think the closest I've come to it was with Sundays. That record was exactly the way, well, I didn't really even plan it. It just kind of organically happened. And while I was writing the songs each week, the sort of sound started morphing into something in my head. And then by the end of it, we looked back upon it. And I think even Jordan Lenning, who co-produced it with me, said, this is the closest thing we've ever come to like actually executing what we talked about the sound should be. Usually you go into something with a reference or, sound in your head, and it ends up being something different. And that's okay. You hone in on what that different thing is and you make it the best you can. But with Sundays, it was so organic, and it was coming from such a real place in my life that I guess it just couldn't help itself. But
so I have a question actually about that. Like when we saw you recently, you spoke of like you had kind of I consider a spiritual awakening, or maybe you consider it a spiritual awakening, but of seeing yourself. And we talk about this sort of thing here all the time, like waking up and seeing things in a different way. Can you tell us a little bit about that, about like what happened in your awakening?
At the beginning of 2021, I mean, for all intents and purposes, I had a minor mental breakdown. I don't want to say like I wasn't admitted or anything, but I sought medical attention and was sort of crippled like mentally for a week or two, just like hard to get out of bed and all that kind of stuff. And I also started meditating at the same point as being medicated, which is funny because my buddy tells me, he's like, well, why'd you start at the same time? Because you don't know which one's working.
Do all the things.
They're both working, so I just kept them both in my life. Yeah, I mean, I'm always looking for a deeper sense of self or mindfulness or spirituality. It's something that interests me and keeps me going. And I feel like the best person, partner, artist, father, when I am my most grounded. And so whatever I can do to achieve that, or try to, and I never actually get there. I don't think anyone actually does. But can try to. Whenever I'm doing that, I feel best about myself and my life. So I just try and do that all the time. And so I don't know if it was really a spiritual awakening more so than just another moment for me to dig deeper,
Right. I watched this documentary once, and there was a woman who she later became a monk, and she was describing what happened to her when she sort of had an awakening. And the person interviewing her said that it sounded a lot like she had a mental breakdown. And she's like, you could look at it that way. She's like, except that the difference is that everything in her life got better after that, rather than everything in her life getting worse. Like that moment was an invitation for things to get better and to change and to go in a good direction. Like she said, her relationships got better. Everything in her life moved in a better way. Was that true for you, or was it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. Definitely better in terms of like my familial relationships, and friends too, also to an extent, just figuring out who's really important and who I want to spend time with, and the places that I don't need to go just to feel included. I don't, that's very vague, but yeah.
Makes sense.
I think it's gotten better. And there's always like peaks and valleys of that, so I'm not going to say I've been in pure bliss since then.
That's the goal, right? I mean,
we got time.
Yeah.
We have eternity. All right. I got a more grounded question. You are Dallas born. You've done some recording in New York, but you're basically based in Nashville. Tell us, what is Nashville for you? Why is that the place where you've chosen to live musically?
Yeah, because musically is different. I mean, I came here because all my heroes came here, or came through here at least. And I tried my luck at the publishing deal world, which is what all my heroes did too, where you write songs for other people. I did that for 6 years, and it was fun, and I got burnt out on it. But it's a good place that is for a musician to be, that is not New York and not LA. And it was affordable. It's getting to be unaffordable. The musicians are the best in the world, and I'll stand by that. Great writers. The business was here. I mean, it's all the sort of cliche answers, but there definitely is a community aspect too, which is nice. Now that I'm with family, I don't go out as much, so I'm not immersed in that as much. But I'm sure it's bubbling up in the younger crowd as well, because it was when I first came to town. It was great.
One of our favorite recent discoveries is a New Yorker turned Nashville songwriter, Aaron Lee Tasjan.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
he's amazing.
He was so
fantastic,
much fun.
Right?
Did you guys get to interview him?
No, but we should. We want to.
You totally should. He is like the best.
His show, we saw him at a really tiny little spot in New York, and it just blew my mind. He was so entertaining. It wasn't just the music. Like, he's hysterical. Like, he was so much fun. Yeah.
He's he's magic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Says the magician.
So are you. Yeah. All right. I'm going to start talking about some of my favorite Andrew Combs songs, and it's hard to make a short list. Rose Colored Blues, one of my favorite songs of my entire life. I have probably listened to that song 500 times.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about it?
That song is, I had that title and I thought it was the coolest title ever. And I was sitting around with it. And I even asked Jordan, the guy I work with a lot, if he wanted to try writing it with me. And he was like, I don't really understand that title. I was like, you're lost, because this is a good one. And no, I mean, it's a romanticized version of like the hobo troubadour lifestyle. And it's like hearkening back to the sort of Jimmy Webb, Glenn Campbell songs. And I wanted to write something like that. It's nothing too personal. You know, I guess there's always a little bit of me in everything, but that one was definitely just like a story created in my mind.
I think for me, I think it's probably Stars of Longing. I love that song. And one of the lyrics is, "It's only love," which is sort of my personal philosophy. But it starts with Stars of Longing. And it's like my teacher says that it's your longing for something that really does the work. Like that's what drives you and pushes you, is when you have that sort of longing. And like she says, all longing is really like for divine truth and to know God. It just comes in different ways. So I can look and see that that's sort of like foreshadowing, it seems like, in your life, like in terms of your growth and your spiritual growth. Does your music actually show you any like stuff about yourself that you didn't know? Does it show you just kind of what's going on that you might not even be aware of?
I think so, for sure. Yeah, I think my music and my painting. And I think, yeah, that's a tough question to answer because I'll say yes, but I don't really know how to explain it.
Is it something you can look back and see? Like when you look back, like I can look back at so many things in my life, like the relationships in my life always showed me kind of where I was, even though I didn't know it at the time. You know, it's like it just would reveal something to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are echoes in Ideal Man of where I ended up on Sundays, I think, for sure. And even as far back as probably All These Dreams, you know, with the sort of spiritual seeking out of a song like Rainy Day song.
Also one of your greatest, one of my most played Andrew Combs songs. Love it, love it, love it.
Well, that was a fun one, it was co-written, and that was like the only co-write I've ever done where it literally felt like we each wrote. It was like a literal 50-50.
Wow. Okay, who was that with?
Brent Cobb.
Okay.
Do you know his music?
No.
We're
great. About to.
Yeah, he's great, and he released his version of that too.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He called it "Shine On Rainy Day," and that was the name of his first record. Brent is a beautiful person and probably the realist, like, of the young generation in Nashville. He lives in Georgia now, but he was in Nashville. I mean, he's just like, he's a real country singer, like in the same vein as like a Christopherson or something, like real redneck poet kind of thing.
You have I like in seeing some interviews and reviews of your stuff, they mention some of your influences that you've mentioned, like Townes Van Zandt and Christopherson. I hear a little Graham Parsons. You a Graham Parsons fan?
Yeah, I liked him. I never could get super into his vocals, but yeah, I mean, him, the myth and the legend of him is cool and stuff. I started to gravitate away from people like that. And I say like that, I mean like destructive artists.
Ended in a blaze of glory of drugs and death. Yeah.
Yeah, him and Townes, and you know, a lot, to be fair, a lot of people from that generation. Just because I was glorifying it so much at an earlier age, and just decided at some point that if I want to live long and prosperous, I don't want to be that way.
All right. What about Caitlin Rose? I told you when we talked to you outside your show that I think that Spotify, we know you from Spotify from 10 years ago or so. And I'm pretty sure that it's because we were listening to The Stand-In so much. I think Spotify gave us you because Caitlin. You guys have played a bunch together for years. And the show at Mercury Lounge, like clearly it was hard to tell whose band was who and what was going on. Can you tell us about working with her and singing with her and stuff? She's phenomenal too.
Yeah. Caitlin's one of my old pals from my first years in Nashville. And she grew up here, so she's one of the few locals. Yeah, I was just always drawn to her songs and her voice, of course. Got to know each other. She started taking me overseas because she does really well overseas. And I would open up and then I would play in her band. So I really have her to thank for me being able to go over there now. I don't know. I love Caitlin. She's like a crazy individual and is so fun to be around and tour with. We have a lot of the same, things we like. We don't see each other a lot now, but when we do, it's always a good time. And yeah, I don't know. She's just great.
You guys together, it was magical. Like it was so beautiful. Like it just blew us. Yeah. It blew us both away.
Yeah,
and she's funny.
Yeah, she's hilarious. She is something else with her banter. But we've been talking about maybe recording some stuff together because we do.
Oh my God, do it.
After every night of that
Please.
show, after every night of that tour, people were like, why don't y'all make a record or an EP together? So we've been talking about it. We're just both busy and everything.
Yeah. They have such complementary voices. Like you both are beautiful, beautiful singers. And it really is magical. Like you should definitely do something.
Yeah, I know.
Are you?
It's always just a matter of time and money. It's just like, when can we do it?
Are you? Your voice is your singing voice. It's one of the most beautiful singing voices I've ever heard, and I'm not exaggerating. Are you a trained singer? How did you get that?
No. In fact, I can't even listen to my early stuff because it's so different. I just decided that I wanted to get better and better and better, and I listened and learned from friends who I think are really good singers, like technically. I have a really close friend, Erin Ray. I don't know if you know her music, but if you don't, you should definitely check it out. She sings beautifully, but so soft. And then I did a tour with Casey Musgraves and her band leader at the time, Misa, who also sings, and they both sing incredibly in great harmonies. And they sing so soft. We would like hang out afterwards, just like playing songs in the green room or at a hotel or whatever. And I was always so amazed because I really had to lean in to listen to them. And I was like, maybe I need to incorporate it because I always thought when I'm playing live, my voice has to be louder than the band. Like I wasn't even thinking about the sound engineer, doing his art and making it all work. So I just started to sing quieter. And when I started to sing quieter, I could have more control about what I do. I can do the falsetto thing. And so to answer your question, I haven't been trained, but I just kind of figured out what I wanted to sound like and just kept singing.
You know what? You just reminded me. I interviewed M. Ward like 20 years ago. And I said to him, I was like, where does this whole sort of under your breath thing come from? And he said that he was early practicing was in his parents' house downstairs, and he was literally trying to keep quiet. And it turned into the way that he sings.
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
And he
that's
has this
cool.
quiet control, right?
Yeah.
In his singing too.
Life just sort of guides you, right? Just directs you.
Yeah. If you surrender to it, sometimes that's the best way to be.
Okay. On that note, have you read this?
I listened to it.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Okay. As a creative artist, does it land with you like the way it, like this lands hard for me?
Yeah. It landed.
Sorry, listeners, I'm talking about Rick Rubin's The Creative Act, A Way of Being, if you can't see this. Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I always thought of him as maybe a bit fluffy, like, I don't know, just like new agey, which I don't know why I have anything against that.
I had the same feeling. I did too.
A little
but
woo-woo.
It's legit. It's totally legit.
It's totally legit. Like where he's coming from is so cool. And now I've started listening to like his podcast and stuff. Is it Revisionist History or no, Broken Record? It's the Malcolm Gladwell and him podcast.
Okay.
Anyways, it's really cool. And yeah, I mean, I kind of feel the same way about that book as I felt about David Lynch's Catching the Big Fish or whatever it's called, where he talks about meditation and the creative outlook to life.
Okay, I have to ask this just because it's also one of the house favorites. Have you ever seen What Did Jack Do?
No.
David Lynch.
Oh my God. It's a
You have to
20
check
minute
it out.
it's a 20-minute movie on Netflix.
Okay.
20 minutes. What did Jack do?
Perfect.
We're gonna leave it there. We're gonna leave it there.
And that's a Lynch directed thing?
David Lynch directed and acted.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I love Lynch. I like Lynch more than I like his movies. I've come to that conclusion. For a while, I was like, yeah, I love his movies. But then I just started thinking about, I was like, I think I like the person more than his movies. I mean, I love,
Twin Peaks. Come on. That was
yeah,
great.
Twin Peaks. Eraserhead's hard for me to get through, and so his movie gets so long. I'm like, give me an hour and a half, man.
What Did Jack Do is easy.
Definitely do.
No, but
and
his
it's like a
stuff
puzzle.
his stuff about the ocean of consciousness is to
Yeah,
your
yeah.
earlier point. He is when I wrote I'm sorry, I have a book here that should have been mailed to you a while ago. But when I wrote Tickled, I came down one morning, this is in 2020, and I was surfing the web doing something, and I caught that one of the things where he's giving a talk in like Boston or something, and he talks about the ocean of consciousness. And I ran upstairs and I said to Joey, this is what is happening inside my head. He just described what I'm feeling here. So very much onto something, like a creative genius. But I agree with you. It's the idea of David Lynch, it sits above the actual execution of some David Lynch movies.
I mean, like collectively his whatever you call it, all of his art is his catalog or whatever is beautiful, and his paintings are amazing, but like him as a person and his ideas are just otherworldly.
All right, speaking of painting, you have some beautiful paintings on your site. That's all I know of it from seeing it. Is that another half of you? Is that another quarter of you? Like, do you consider yourself a painter? And sorry, that's kind of a stupid question. Like, what is painting in the artistic sort of constellation of Andrew Combs? What does it represent? Because you've painted paintings that go along with songs to go with albums.
Yeah. Well, it's the percentage of me is growing as we speak, becoming a painter. I mean, I started when my wife was pregnant with our first kid. So 7 years ago, I guess, ish. And it's always been something that I've been drawn to. I grew up, my parents are both designers, interior and graphic, and we went to museums. That's what we did on the weekend. Like we would drive to Fort Worth and go to all the museums. So it's part of me, but I never really grasped onto it. And I love it so much. And it's insane how it's started to inform my songwriting. I used to be so structured when it came to songwriting. I think the publishing world ingrained that in me. But nowadays I look at songs more like an abstract painting, and then seeing little parts of the painting become something figurative, or whatever. And I look at songs like that too. I love it. It's something I do probably when I am home. I do probably 4 or 5 nights a week when the kids go to bed. And I have a solo show next year that I'm prepping for.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where is that? In Nashville?
It's here. Yeah. And I have to have at least 18 pieces. So I'm just working on that. And
what is homemade paper? Is that you make that paper?
I didn't make it, but a buddy made it.
Okay.
So you just get pulp basically, and they have like a
resin or something on there, or anything.
It's like this like mesh sieve kind of thing, and the paper dries on it. You get it to where you want it. I haven't done many of that. Yeah, my website needs to be updated.
So I went to I'm a huge Dylan fan. Huge. Uh-huh. And I went to the opening of the Bob Dylan Museum in Tulsa a couple years ago. If you're ever going through there.
How is that?
It's fucking fantastic. Whoa. Like as a sort of window into someone's process. You're not going to see a more complete thing. They'll take like a song and they'll show you handwritten lyric sheets, videos of recordings, audios of outtakes. It's immersive in the truest sense of the word. But he also said it's, I forget which what the particular song was. I think it might have been Desire, his album. He said someone taught him to start thinking of songs like paintings.
Oh, wow.
So that's mid-career even, right? He's already one of the greatest ever. And it only at some point there in the 70s, he started looking at his own tunes as abstract pieces of impressionist work. And it sort of did a big shift. But it sounds like what you just said.
That's so cool. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I look for in other artists that I want to, whether it's books or paintings or music. Like, I want to see someone shifting and changing and trying something new and like expanding, because that's what's interesting. Like, I want to see an arc, and I want to that's what's interesting to me.
Could we commission you to do a painting for the lyric, "Heaven isn't just an island, but a universal condition of the heart"?
Oh.
I love it. We'd like a painting to go along with that lyric, please.
Yeah, that's Stars of Longing, right? Yeah.
No. I thought it was Stillwater, Sundays. Stillwater.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it just like grabbed me. I was like, oh.
Thank you. I thought maybe it was Stars of Longing because you were talking about that earlier. Mm-hmm. Because the guy, all the new record I wrote by myself, but Stars of Longing I wrote with this guy named Joe Henry, who is not, there's a producer named Joe Henry. It's not that guy. But he is a phenomenal, like deeply spiritual person. He is so interesting. He's probably close to 80. He lives out in Colorado by himself on a river, doesn't own a computer, barely gets around on a cell phone. And he wrote, like, he was John Denver's best friend, and they wrote a bunch of songs together. He wrote a song for Frank Sinatra. He just does lyrics. He doesn't do any music. He's an author, primarily. But he comes to town like once every 6 months or so, and we sit around and write these like super spiritual songs. And a couple of them have made Stars of Longing, and then Laurel Lee, which is on Canyons of My Mind. It's more of a love song, but we have so many that are just like, I think we're just trying to write like the song.
Perfect song. You're getting close.
Yeah.
You're getting close.
But he's really interesting, and there's not much out there on him, but and I don't know how you would even get him to a Zoom meeting, but he would be someone so fun to talk to.
We'll go there.
Yeah, you might have to.
All right. So we have just instituted a new protocol here at How to Tickle Yourself. We are asking our interviewees to give us 2 things that tickle you right now. And what we mean by that is just those, whether it's a book, a thing you're doing, a place you've been, that gives you that feeling of how awesome it is to be alive. What are 2 of Andrew Combs' current tickles?
Well, first of all, and I don't know if I told you guys this when I met you guys in New York, but I have a folder in my computer and on my phone called Tickle Me Elmo. And that's where I put all like my random ideas. So
my God, stars are aligning.
Yeah. I've been devouring books by Richard Powers, who wrote the Ova story. I guess that was kind of his blow up moment, but he has a lot of great books. Musically, I've been into this one record that my kid also likes a lot. It's by a guy named Francis Bebe. He's a I think Nigerian guy, West African in some capacity, and it's called Moana O, and it's really beautiful. It's like half in French, half in the local language, half in English. So I guess thirds, not half. But that one's really beautiful. I've been listening to like avant-garde kind of like Sun Ra kind of stuff just while painting. That really sparks something. Yeah, I'd say those are 3 of recent.
Joey, we have gotten more music recommendations
I know.
from one musician than we've ever got before. We apologize in advance if the amount of Andrew Combs plays on Spotify drops, but it's your fault.
Yeah.
Because you telling us to listen to all this stuff. Okay, listeners, every single album Andrew has ever put out is stunning. Worried Man, All These Dreams, Canyons of My Mind, Ideal Man, and Sundays. You're young, right? You're in your 40s?
I'm 36.
You're 36. Jesus Christ.
I feel old.
No. No.
Phenomenal artist, one of the most beautiful voices ever. Like it gets weird when we're interviewing like great musicians here, because I wish that the listener could be instantly forced to listen to the music while I'm trying to describe it. Go listen to it, everybody. Andrew is it's otherworldly talent, but also just you can feel the love through all of it. Right, Joey?
Yep. You're a conduit.
Thank you.
Yes, you're a conduit. You're our favorite current conduit, Andrew Combs. Thank you for joining us. Thank you
Thanks so much,
for everything
Andrew.
you do, and we can't wait to hear the next one.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
Cheers, man.
Bye.
Cheers.
Oh my God, I am a fanboy.
I like him even more now. I didn't think it was possible, but he's so nice.
I am
such a nice
fanboy. His sensitivity and spirituality match his songwriting and his everything. Yeah. It's, sometimes you run into those people. One of them's called Joey of Rockledge. I now know another one. His name is Andrew Combs. Again, listeners, do yourself a favor. Stop listening to me right now. Stop, hit pause, or stop, just stop and go listen to anything he's done. But our favorites are like where we'll tell you to go in are Rose-Colored Blues, Stars of Longing, the Rainy Day Song, I think it is, from All These Dreams. But all the other ones too. Laura Lee, a song he mentioned. It's
all
beautiful.
Of them. Listen to all the songs.
And also check out his artwork. We will see you in Nashville in May 2024 when I think he's going to have a show. One of my favorites ever. I can't believe we just got to talk to him and hear how his process works and just sort of hear how he does it all. It's amazing. It's inspiring. Whatever. This is why we do this show. Right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I've got one for you here, and this is again unorthodox. But
that's sort of your thing, right?
Yeah. Nobody gets to tell me what to do, right? So Sri Aurobindo, the patron saint of this podcast, our philosophical pole star, talks about, so there's in Hindu philosophy, the horse holds a central place, right? They have a horse sacrifice. It's metaphorical. But they also just talk about the horse as a metaphor almost for the universe itself. And he's talking about, there's a passage from one of the Upanishads, and they're talking about the horse as if it were time and all the other things. And he says, sunrise and sunset, that is to say, birth and death, are the front and hind part of the body of the horse. Time expressed in matter. Day is the symbol of the continual manifestation of material things. In the Vyakta, the manifest or fundamentally in Sat, which is existence and infinite being. Night is the symbol of their continual disappearance in Avyakta, the unmanifest, or finally into Asat, the infinite non-being. But here's the cool part. So he says, they appear according to the swift movement of this horse of the worlds as he gallops. Day is the greatness that appears in his front. Night is the greatness that appears in his rear. Whatever this time spirit, this zeitgeist, turns his face towards or arrives at as he gallops through time, that appears, or as we say, comes into being. Whatever he passes away from and leaves, that disappears out of being, or as we say, perishes. So basically, like, one of my takeaways from that is, it's like time and things that appear are basically where you're headed, right? We think of time as this sort of thing outside of us, but it isn't really. It's basically inside you. So time unfolds for you and things come into being as you move into them. And things go out of being for you, right? Things go away as you gallop away from them. If you turn your attention away from them, you can leave a thing behind, is basically the point of it, right? And basically manifest you manifest reality by what you lean into and gallop towards. Yeah, and I think Andrew was talking about, out of other artists, he likes to see an arc, right? Because we don't want to see stasis. We want to see movement is what's going on here in the becoming, and it's like the most satisfying artists to watch, especially musical artists to listen to, is when it feels like you're on the horse with them, going through time with them. And I like Bob Dylan, of course, but he sort of sets the standard for a lot of things about creative expression. But Andrew Combs, in a very similar way to Dylan, you can see through his albums. This is my first question. I said they're all very coherent. You can sort of see what's happening. You can hear what's happening to Andrew, like, through a veil and through a whatever, right? We don't know what's actually happening to him, but we're on a ride with him that is smooth, beautiful, but also the vista is changing the whole time. And it's like what makes for beautiful art. So Andrew, your work is like a galloping horse per Sri Aurobindo. Thank you for the ride.
Okay, I have a little something. It's a little simpler, maybe, but I love it.
That
I read
was
it.
simple enough. Andrew Combs' music is like riding a galloping horse.
I agree with you.
Hold on. Here's the end of that quote. End of that quote. He says, "These two greatnesses of the appearance of things in time and space and their disappearance in time and space act always and continuously so long as the horse is galloping." Movement.
Yeah. Change.
Okay, sorry.
Okay,
Please.
no. So I'm going to read a little something. It's from an essay that is entitled "Life is a Play of Sun and Shadow" by Muktananda. And it says, I love this. "When you recognize the self within, an inner smile blossoms, and the peacock of your mind dances in the fountain of the love of life." I love that. The peacock of your mind. It's just trying to get all your attention all the time. And that's by Baba Swami Muktananda.
So Andrew Combs has this album called All These Dreams. And it opens with two unbelievable songs. One of them is called Rainy Day Song, and the next one's called Nothing to Lose. And you can hear in there the unfolding of an artistic expression, right? You can hear his inner smile coming out. Heart of Wonder, also songs that opens Canyons of My Mind. He's got a great song. It's a funny one. It's called Too Stoned to Cry. That's off of Worried Man, his first one. But Ideal Man was the one that really locked me in. Stars of Longing is one of the best songs ever.
It's beautiful.
And Sundays, the one he wrote during quarantine and recorded a song a week. Imagine doing that. Imagine not only coming up with, but executing a fully formed song once a week. That's an artistic challenge, but also just like a beautiful thing to try to do. So we got to go back and listen to all of Andrew's recommendations because he gave us like 5 in there. Listeners, get on the horse and gallop, right?
I don't think you have any choice, really, right? The horse is just doing its thing.
So that the peacock of your mind dances in the fountain of the love of life. Thank you, Andrew Combs. That's what you make us feel like. Thanks for listening. We'll be back in a week.
Bye-bye. You've been listening to How to Tickle Yourself with your host, Duff McDonald, and me, Joey of Rockledge. You can help us by liking, subscribing, and sharing this podcast with others. You can talk to us and see what else is happening on Instagram and Facebook at How to Tickle Yourself. This program was recorded in Studio B of the historic Rockledge Recording Studio. Right Here, Right Now, our original 16-part theme music, was written and recorded by the legendary Paul Reddick and Kyle Ferguson of the Sidemen, with Steve Mariner on bass and drums and in the mixing room. This podcast is produced and distributed by Storic Media. Our editor is Oscar Desiderio. Our producers are Kristen Verbitsky and Chuck Labella. For more information, visit storicmedia.com. That's STORIC media.com.